to Journey Through the Universe. I'm really excited to be here as always with Alexis. Hi, Alexis. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, I am doing okay. As we'll get into in a little bit, I have a lot of my planets and placements in my 12th house lit up right now, and it has been an interesting experience today, to say the least. A lot of balancing acts, I would say, for sure, which is absolutely Libra.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for this chat tonight. I feel good getting on and having the conversation with you and all the people watching. So I'm doing pretty okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I definitely feel that balancing energy as well, specifically emotions. That's been kind of a theme in my life. And obviously, I mean, with all of us, we're human, we experience emotions. And I think the biggest lesson that has been coming forth before Libra season, but I feel like it's like kind of, or Libra season before this Libra full moon, but I feel like it's kind of peaking now is like being able to hold like all the emotions that I'm feeling and not like feeling bad or feeling like, automatically being like, you shouldn't feel that way, or like, having the anxiety or the fear or whatever come in about an emotion. Like for me, it's like I'm starting to like accept the layers of emotion happening at one time and being like okay with that, like being able to just be present with it. And I think it's because I'm like hyper aware of it now that it's like I don't
Hmm.
have a choice but to be present. And so I feel like that energy of like the moon in Libra and kind of like, tilting from one extreme to the other, trying to find your point of balance and stability. And so that's definitely what I've been experiencing. But I feel at the end of the day, I still feel pretty grounded, which is good. And I think that's because I am not trying to escape that feeling. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm excited for the chat. And for those of you listening to the replay or watching the replay, we are live right now on April 1st. Happy Fools. Um but yeah, the full moon is tonight. It hasn't peaked yet. It'll peak in I think like 2 hours. I think it's like 10 o'clock tonight, I believe, Eastern time. So we're in the energy of it. And yeah, I love when the like the full moons or the new moons or any of those significant astrological moments sync up with like the timing that we're or that we're live, because I
Yep.
feel that energy present.
100%, especially like you were talking about that duality. The duality of emotions right now is very intense. I mean, a lot of things coming through that are exciting and light and joyful and cheerful and there's so much like wonderful things, and then it's like on the other hand we have all these really heavy, dark, like uncomfortable feelings coming in, and it's really like you said, like trying to balance that experience out. And I think that it's proving to be a challenge, but still doable. I mean, I also kind of love that we have the full moon on April Fools. Like there's something really
Yeah.
funny about that. There's this like jester, like fun trickster energy. But on top of that, the vibe is so weird that nobody was doing April Fool's Day today. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
things are weird enough.
Yeah, they're
Like,
like April's Day is canceled.
it's canceled
Like
today.
I
We
can't
don't need
say
to be
like,
joking about
yeah, I've seen
anything because
some. Yeah, no, the April Fools that I've come across on social media, and I think there was only like two that I've like actively seen, like they were a bit intense. Like it's like a go big or go home type energy. Like if you're gonna do April Fools, like a lot of people are like, yo, this isn't funny, like especially what's going on in the world. Like, no. So it's been a weird April Fools and weird full moon energy for sure.
definitely. And I feel like, with everything going on and it being the first of the month and the full moon being super like intense, but also like those balancing aspects, I feel like it'd be a really good, like, I'm going to get off of this chat and I'm going to take a very nice long bath. I'm
Mm.
probably going to do a guided meditation in the bath with the lights dim and a candle going and, other fun activities like, having some wine with that, and just finding that
Ooh, yeah.
center, finding that not escape, but like coming to back to the self. Because I
Well,
feel
you know
like,
what? Sorry.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the word when you're saying that the word that was coming to me it was serenity. That's like
Mm-hmm.
a word that I've been feeling because it's like this peacefulness, this ease. And I was like serenity, where it's just like
Yes.
whatever that is, the serene feeling of just being in your own energy.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so funny. The last time I wanted to take a bath, I got so excited. I got all my crystals laid out. I had my like my cup of tea, my cup of wine, I had my bong, and like everything was just perfect. And I turned off my bath water and I went to like touch it and it was like lukewarm, like
Ah,
it was not. So I got in and I just kind of sat in like chilly water for a little bit and then I was like, "No, this isn't it. This is terrible. This is horrible."
I
So I'm
think that
hoping
happened
that this
the
it's
last time I took a bath too.
I
That's
was
like
so
yeah,
disappointed.
it's a little bit like, yeah, take yeah, it it kills
It
the vibe a little
was
bit.
so disappointing because like I guess I just had happened to run out of hot water like really quickly and didn't know. Like I kind of like turned my faucet on and go downstairs and get everything ready. And then by the time I'm like ready to take a bath, the bath is pretty much almost filled. And I just it was the 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 humor in sitting in a bathtub that is cooler than lukewarm, just like it it was so frustrating. But I think it's gonna be okay today. And I just cleaned the bath and everything's perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock on wood and grant myself a
Yeah, I
fantastic
can get that. Yeah,
bath.
this is an important moon for you. So I'm
Yes.
I'm definitely sending those vibes that you're gonna get that. Awesome. So, of course, we have a couple announcements to share. I will share that I am having a dream class this month on April 26th. It's going to be a virtual class via Ritual Craft School. And I'm going to be teaching the class Overcoming Anxious Dreams and Nightmares, a class that I've taught a couple times. So I'm really excited to always share and talk about these type of dreams because they can be really destabilizing and hard to talk about. So I love to be able to prepare like the safe space to have these conversations. So I will be putting the link to register for that in the description of this video. And if you want more information about the class, it'll be on the website. And if you have further questions, you can always reach out to me either via my website, uraniaheartmetaphysics.com, or you can find me on Instagram and then just direct message me there.
I'm so excited for your class because you have an ample amount of information and experience around nightmares and the way that you guide people is just fantastic. Like I'm really excited for your class that's coming
Ooh,
up
yeah,
and everybody who gets to attend. So if you guys haven't signed up yet, go sign up.
thanks.
All right, so I'll go right into it. If you guys don't already know, Urania and I are dream experts on a developing dream app called Dreamigos. That's Dreamigos. You can find this on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. It is a dream recording app where you can record your dreams in a variety of different ways and keep them private, or you can publish them to our Dreamline. This gives you access to guidance and interpretation from dream experts like Urania and I. If you download the app too, you have access to a dream circle once a month. And they're really fun. All of the dream experts take their turns in educating and teaching around different topics of dreaming. Sometimes we do a round table, and then we do sofa chats as well, which is a more casual, laid back type of conversation around dreaming. So if you haven't already signed up, I'd go download that today.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So let's get into tonight's topic. It is nature, spirits, and dreams. And the inspiration for our chat tonight is due to the fact that we are in the time of year where the veil is thinning. And
Right.
we are in spring, right? So we're basically in that like coming out of the equinox, the spring equinox, and moving towards Beltane. Beltane is on May 1st. and that is the opposite point on the wheel of the year of Samhain, right, or Halloween. And so we all are familiar with Halloween being the time of year where the veil is thinning and it's like connecting with your ancestors and that like death and transformation and being like starting to move into stillness, like at least in the northern hemisphere and in this time of year the veil is also thin, but we're moving towards life and growth and activity. And so this is the time of year where you start to see like the nature spirits waking up, right? Or you're feeling them. I mean, they're there, right? But like you feel the awakening of life, of nature, and you start to, when you're really sensitive and attuned to that, you start like connecting with them. Like maybe you're seeing like the faces in the trees, or you're like feeling like or hearing the whispers of the wind and like with the rain. And so it's a very magical time of year. And um sorry, it's a very magical time of year, and I get really excited, and it's fun to really like think about that aspect of spring in reference to like the thinning veil and just life coming through, because I know personally I tend to have I feel like now, like where I'm at, I've noticed more activity in my home during this time of year. Like I was literally telling someone how in April, I literally always have like a visitor. Like I have to do a big clearing. Like there's an energetic visitor, whether it's like something that's like really intense, um, or something that's just like I need to clear the space. So I'm really excited to talk about it. And so I guess we'll start too with like, I know you want to add to that, and we'll just go into like what Beltane is
Right.
more specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right off the bat, Beltane is a holiday. It's on the wheel of the year, and it's celebrated every May 1st. The word Beltane is an old. It comes from Old Irish words. So the first part of the word Bel comes from the old god Bel or Bill, and then the last part of the word Tane comes from an Old Irish word Teen. It's Tene, and it means fire. So that's so like um relevant to the holiday of Beltane, because it's a birth, it's new, it's brand new, it's the sun coming back out, the sun bringing to life plants and flowers and vegetation, and cattle are giving birth, and it's a really great time of the year for everyone to feel refreshed and anew. Um, so this was first mentioned around like the 900s, I want to say BC. You know what? Don't quote me on that. That was a guesstimate. But it 900 either BC or AC. We'll figure it out. And it was described in a glossary attributed to Cormac, the Bishop of Cashel and the King of Munster. So he described how cattle were driven between two bonfires as a magical means of protecting them from disease before they were released into the pastures for the summer. And there's other, like, that was a huge way of celebrating, but more modern, more celebration ways that are a little bit more tied to modern day are like the maypole dancing, and cutting greens and flowers, celebrating through that, having the bonfire, of course. But this also was a way. So back to the veils, which I thought was really interesting. Pre-Christian Celtic peoples divided the year into two segments. So the winter season, beginning of the new year, started on May 1st, and that was considered the Irish Samhain. So of
Mm.
course that was where the veil was thinnest, that represented death. And then they had the mid-year, which was May 1st, aka the Irish Beltane, which was the birth. So those are two very pertinent places for that veil to be almost completely thinned out. And it was thought to be critical periods where the bounds between the human and supernatural worlds were temporarily erased. And it is also a time where they would say that the witches and the fae roamed freely. So they did a bunch of like rituals and traditions to either like, ward them off, or offerings to make them happy, whatever it would be. But yeah, it's a really fun holiday. I think it's great. I think that celebrating the birth of the year is really wonderful. And from here on out, it's only going to get warmer and more growth and more opportunity for feeling better, because I feel like up to this point we've kind of been lacking on the vitamin D.
Oh,
and
was
so our energy. What?
yeah, no, I was just saying this was a harsh winter for sure.
Yes, it was. So this is the time where things are going to start to lighten up and just get a little bit stronger.
Yeah. And so they also said too, like from what I've learned or what I've come across, I think in my studies is that like the cross quarter days, which are the like Beltane, Samhain, Lunasaw, and oh, Star. Yeah, that was the
Hmm.
other. They actually used to like those were kind of like the greater Sabbats, like and those are the fire festivals, like really honoring that light. And it was always like the halfway point between maybe like the I don't know if you would consider them to be extremes, but those shifts, right, of like the winter solstice. So it's like the sun is like at its lowest point in the sky from the northern perspective, or just from the earth entirety in like as a whole.
Right.
And with the summer solstice, it's at its most northern point from like the earth perspective as a whole. And then we have these two balancing points of the equinox. And so the cross quarter days were essentially kind of like more potent times to work with,
Right.
because they're in those halfway points, the midway point. So I thought that was like really interesting to um, just consider as well. And one of the things that I've done one year, which was really fun, and I'll have to share pictures of it, but my daughter and I, when she was like 3, I have like so many dandelions. And like that was a thing I came across was like they would also collect like dandelions, like the flowers, and they would place them at the front of their threshold, like their door. And they would basically that welcomed in good fortune, like blossoming energy, abundance, renewal, all of those spring qualities that you want. And then with the stem and the roots, they would boil those obviously, and or like not boil them but dry them. Well, maybe they did steep them too, but dry them, to have as tea or to use as like a spice. And so it was like that was so like a ceremonial act to honor like Beltane in this time of year. So it's a really special time. I think that I mean more and more people I think are observing it, but it's definitely, of course, it's not on the level of Halloween, but it has its like beautiful and exciting moments as well. So I
Oh,
think we're
maybe
gonna
it'll
have
get
more time
there.
with
I
myself.
mean,
Yeah.
people who follow the wheel of the year and who participate in these celebrations, I'm sure it'll become just as big. I mean, I was listening to a couple podcasts, and the people who were talking about Beltane, the two, well, specifically the two people I was listening to were saying that it was their favorite holiday out of the entire
Mhm.
time of the year,
Yeah.
for the reasons that we explained. But, just going back to what you were saying about the dandelions, it makes total sense that using that, ingesting it in one way or the next would be a powerful experience for the beginning of the season and to celebrate the holidays. And it reminded me that I've been really wanting to try a recipe that I saw a while back, where you take the heads of the dandelions, before they turn into the
Yeah.
wispy,
Uh,
before
yeah.
that point you get them where they're yellow,
Yeah.
and you like dip them in, like you essentially bread them or like pancake batter them and fry them in the pan. And yeah,
Oh, I feel like I think I've heard of that before.
I have been wanting to try that for a while, and I always forget. And then, when I do go outside, because I live in the city, and my husband's like, you can't eat those dandelions because there's so many cars that go by. Like they're all, you know, uh, essentially like not good for you, and like you would have to go to a field where it's not getting much of that, whatever. But I really would like to, maybe I'll do that this season because
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that until you
I mean,
mentioned
you
that.
can definitely like clean them. I mean, I know like with the treated grass and everything like that, that's kind of that makes it a little bit sus. But I mean,
Yeah,
I get it. I'm like that too. Like, because I mean, my yard is at this point, it's pretty good as far as like not having a lot of chemicals or any chemical. Like we don't like treat our grass or anything, but
right.
because I get lemon balm actually grows like crazy in my yard. And I just like, I'm like, well, if I'm gonna, if I'm gonna harvest it, I want to do it right. I want to be able to clean it properly and everything. And so, because my Capricorn kicks in and it's like either do it right or don't do it at all. But it's like nice when you have those like
Right.
like right
Exactly.
there, like those plant allies, and then utilizing them. And it's just like the power that you feel from that, like the connection to nature that you feel with that is incredible.
Absolutely. And the benefits you get from it, because dandelions are incredibly healthy for you. I mean, lemon balm as well is incredibly. Oh,
Oh
oh,
yeah, I found the picture. I was like,
wow. Look at
put
all
it
of
on there.
them.
So there was a lot. We had them in like there were more, I feel like. But yeah, it was so in the way the sun was shining too with them. It was, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And I have like
That's
videos of
so
her picking.
magical.
But what was really funny was that the year, like after we did this, then you know how they all like, of course we had tons of them and they like we couldn't even pick all of them. And
Mhm.
then more grew, and you know how they turn to like the point in which they pollinate, they blow away. Like she
Right.
was like so icked out by that. It was like she had this strong love for it like in that phase. And then when it started like turning, she was I mean, it didn't turn in the house, but outside, and she was just like freaked out. Like she didn't like it was icky. Like it was like, gave
That's
her the
so
ick.
interesting because I feel like when you can blow them and they like fly away, that's when kids really like them the most. But
Some kids do, but she was funny about like little things like lint and
mhm.
stuff.
Oh,
Um,
well then yeah, of
at that
course,
age. So
because
it
it's
made sense
basically
because it
lint.
kind of looked like lint. Yeah. So
Yeah,
she
it's basically lint.
like it was like gave her the heebie-jeebies, which is funny. But yeah, so that's like a fun little thing you can do. There's so many things, but dandelions like one of the easiest because it's right there. Like you step outside and they're freaking resilient. They're like, I mean, yeah, they're awesome like plant allies to work with.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think we touched on that pretty nicely. And so, yeah, how would you define nature spirits? Like, I feel like, and of course, this conversation is about nature spirits. And so, we're going to talk about how they may show up in dreams and what they mean. But I think it's important first if we talk about what nature spirits are and like the different examples of them.
If I were to define them, I would consider nature spirits like beings that inhabit different aspects of nature, whether it's, um, earth related, water related, air related, or fire related. Like just, that's where they would be found. That's where they would be nurturing and protecting the space and possibly,
Anything,
warding you off from destroying.
right?
How would you define them?
So I have here in my notes that nature spirits essentially are non-physical beings and they that embody basically the elements of nature. So I mean that could be like fairies, gnomes, nymphs, any kind of personification of natural forces like the natural elements, water, air, fire, earth. So um like I mean you might have fairies and gnomes show up in your dream, or you might have some other creature that like is specific to you, but it embodies those like elements of nature. Like it could be something specific
Right.
to earth, like wood, or some sort of wood creature, or just like the essence of like this wild natural elemental type energy is what I
Absolutely.
how I would define that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And, I feel like nature spirits kind of define themselves, They're
Mhm.
nature spirits, spirits that you find out in nature, other
Right.
beings that are inhabitants of the natural world.
Yeah, and I think it's like mostly important, like the most important aspect of that is the essence of it.
Hmm.
So like beyond what it might represent, say in physical form or through like what you see, and more so like what you feel, like the energy
Yes.
and the feeling that comes forth. Because even like, so in this case, my definition of nature spirits, right? It's the non-physical being, but like I think it can also be like the actual trees. Like there are
Right.
several trees around my house that have faces.
Right.
And so when I connect with the face of the tree, I'm connecting to the spirit of that, even that specific tree. So the essence and the energy of that, like this
Right.
animated aspect of like the trees, the plants, the elements, like so even like the wind, like I mentioned, like like tuning to the whispers of the wind, and like connecting more to that spirit of like you're not just hearing the wind, but you're like hearing or feeling what it's communicating to you in some way.
Right. And there's so many different kinds. Like while I was doing my research, I had never really embarked upon nature spirits. Like, I've always kind of heard them in passing, or, one or two of them I've heard, but there's actually quite a few of them, and they differ from culture to culture. So for example, like we have the plant diva, or like Deva, not Diva. Deva, I guess, plant deva. So these beings are rooted in mystical traditions around indigenous cultures and beliefs, Hinduism and Buddhism. And they are beings that inhabit plants, flowers, and other vegetarians specifically. So I thought that was really interesting. They're said to be responsible for the growth, health, and well being of flora. Um, an important aspect of just balancing out nature. And they're often, you know, considered to be invisible to the human eye unless you have like the ability to sit and meditate and be able to perceive them. And even when you perceive them, it may not be in the way that you think that you'll be able to perceive them. Like, I think one of the things we do as humans is we humanize the things around us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to sit down with this specific type of nature spirit, and you're going to try to kind of like open your awareness to them being around you, don't expect them to be something like, don't
Yep.
don't have a preconceived notion of what they are. Allow them to show themselves to you. But they are known essentially as like plant angels, which I think is really cute and beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can use them, you can call upon them for guidance and protection, which is different from, like, say, the Fae.
Mm-hmm.
So the Fae are very interesting because the way that we perceive, like the way that we imagine Fae and fairies to be, is actually completely different than what they actually are. Like, they're not these cutesy, like, all loving creatures who just want to, like, you know, do nice things for you. Like, they're very chaotic, and they're very mischievous beings. And where, like, you can call upon the plant deva to help with protection, you really don't want to interact too much with the fae. You really just kind of want to leave them be. So they're really interesting because they're known in cultures around the Slavic, the English, Persian, French, German, and Celtic. And they come from the Latin word fata, which is fate. Essentially, it translates to fate.
Oh, interesting.
And so they're believed to inhabit ancient burial mounds and other sacred grounds. They're called different things in different cultures too. So, for example, um, I believe the Irish and Scottish, they're called the She. That's spelled Sdhe. And they're considered to be a supernatural race with their own distinct realm, often seen as existing parallel to the human world. So it's said that, like, they can enter our realm, but we can't really enter theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because it makes sense that they would show up in our dream space, since they essentially have the ability to jump from realm to realm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're considered to be very mischievous. You don't want to invite them into your house. They'll steal things and hide things. Like, a bunch of your stuff will just start going missing, and that's just the nature of them. But the other thing too, like back to that aspect of like you don't want to try to control them, so you don't want to call upon them for anything, but you instead kind of want to honor them and leave a peace offering and maybe ask for a blessing, but you really want to have it like a separation. And I'm sure not everybody feels this way, but from a lot of what I've heard, like the fae are just, you don't want to like mess with them too much. And it's funny because it reminds me of a little bit of a show I'm watching right now. These they're called dandelion sprites, which is funny because we just talked about dandelions. But essentially, they seem really cute, but they go inside of your body and your brain, and they essentially like feed off you until they explode you. I guess that would like blow
Yeah.
you up from the inside out, and that's how they like pollinate and move to the next thing. And it's like, of course, I don't think the Fae would do that, but when I think of the mischievousness, because their personalities are very like
Yeah.
intense
It
and
can kind
like
of be
not
like a little bit.
friendly.
Yeah, it can kind of be like a little bit of a nuisance at times.
Yes, they're tricksters. Like they're not they I heard somebody I was listening to talk about them said they have a likeness to like a stray cat or a stray dog, like that wild energy. Like you don't want to run up and approach it. You kind of want to have some distance. But
Yeah.
how do you feel about the Fae? What do you what do you
Um,
think?
yeah, I mean, I definitely have come across that same um I guess experience, not my own experience. I don't really have a direct personal connection with any fae. I did have it just this just made me think about it, and I'm getting like goosebumps now saying it out loud. But I had this oracle deck. I just had to look it up again. And I think I bought it twice. And I'm trying to remember if I actually still have it, if it's in my basement or like I did donate it or something. But it's called the Fairies Oracle. It's really good. It's a really beautiful deck. It's by who is this by? Brian Frode. I wonder if I can like pull up. I don't know why I'm like really into sharing my screen right now, but
No, I
um
love it.
yeah,
Keep doing
I'm gonna share
it.
my screen. But like when I got this deck, I was like really excited. I was like, "Ooh, I want a fairy oracle deck." Um, let's see if I can get a good picture of it. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen. But this deck had some energy, and like when I got it, I was like, "This is not what I was going for fairy." Like, even though I looked at the cards, but the energy was just, I mean, like, look at this. Like, I don't think
Oh
it might
yeah.
not be a fairy, but it's like in that realm, right, of the fae. This one's the fairy godmother. That's like probably sun energy. Like, it's a really cool deck. But
It's
like when I got it, the energy was just
beautiful.
so, yeah, the energy was like intense. I couldn't handle it when I got it. Um, but now it's like having this conversation, and it's come up before where I'm like, damn, I was like missing that deck. And I think it honestly was around this time of year.
Did
Um,
you get rid of it?
I think so, because I got it twice. I got it like 10 plus years ago, and it was like it was too eerie for me. And then I think I bought it again because I like missed it. And so I don't know if I actually still have it because I have some decks that I don't use downstairs, and I was debating on like once again getting rid of them.
Like in
Um,
the basement?
yeah, I think in the basement here I might have it. Yeah,
That could be contributing to some of that energy in your basement. I do have to
especially
say
this
because,
time of year too, because
well,
I'm like, oh, this time of year is always like there's weird energy in this house specifically.
right. And like I've heard that when you're so when you're in nature, there's ways that the fae can kind of like express themselves to you. Like you kind of can get an idea that they're around. And one of the ways that they talked about this experience occurring is like if you're in a forest and you start feeling an unnerving feeling and you want to like leave, like
Yeah,
that's like essentially the fae kind of warding you off. So
yeah.
like giving you those unnerving feelings for you to go. So it's very interesting that the deck could be in your basement. It could be contributing to that type of energy.
Gosh, okay, I'm gonna have to look after this because I know where my decks are. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I don't have it anymore, but I want it though. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna have to get it like in between now and
Time's a
Beltane.
charm.
Yeah. Cause I'm like, I can handle that energy now. But so that was basically my introduction to like what they're really like because I don't know if maybe I didn't even see the images. I was just like, ooh, an oracle deck. And the picture of the fairy on the deck on the like the cover like of the box isn't like one of those like creepy ones. So I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like I want and I got it and I was like, it was more of the energy around it. And it's like everything that you're describing now. But aside from that, also it could have been the same year that I did the dandelion Beltane um I guess like ritual ceremony. But I also there was a tree in my neighborhood. It was a couple houses down. It was a big, huge maple tree in front of their house, but there was like this huge mushroom growing on like the side of the tree, like almost like plate shape. And it had moss and everything. It was really pretty. And so I had this intention
Ooh.
to like offer like the fairies, like because it was literally like a fairy mushroom. It was so beautiful. So I like put some crystals, like some quartz crystals down, and like I heard that you can offer them like herbs like chamomile and like rose and stuff. So I was like always like putting like little treats and stuff there. And I'm so sad. I think it was like the next year they cut the owners cut that tree down because I mean it was huge. And I was really sad. Yeah, the mushroom's not there anymore. I was trying to think. I was like, is it still there? Um, but anyway, so I would have to reflect on that period of my life. Um, and see if like if anything what was going on like I don't think anything crazy like not that I can recall happened around
Right.
that time but
You
it
know, that
could
makes me think the mushroom makes me think of mushroom fairy circles, the mushrooms that grow in a circle.
yeah fairy rings
They
what they call it
they're said to act as portals to the fairy realm. And
mm-hmm.
like you're warned not to sit or step inside of it. I have stepped inside of them as an adult knowing not to. I don't know why it felt like I my when I'm around a fairy ring, my intuition is just like get in it now. And I
Wow, I don't
probably should
think I've ever
listen
came
to what
across
people
them.
say.
Yeah, I don't think I've
Really?
ever seen one. No,
Well, what I was gonna say is if you do get this deck for a third time, maybe
I think I will.
outside in like a so keeping it outside, it'd be interesting if you put like the deck in a box outside and a fairy ring grew
Ooh,
around it.
that would be awesome. That would be really cool. Sorry, I was trying to see if I could find that freaking tree because I know I took a picture of it, but anyway, with like, because it was really pretty. Oh yeah, okay. Yay, I'm showing all the pictures. This
Yay.
is before I started adding crystals, but I don't have a picture of like all the herbs and stuff I sent, but you could see, oh wait, did I? Sorry. Um, okay. So I'm gonna share these. But yeah, no, they I'm like now I think this is gonna be like my Beltane like celebration, I think, is like I don't know, it's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get that deck and connect. I feel like a curiosity and like playfulness around it, also a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of hesitation, but can you see like the screen here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Wait,
growing like so these
that
are the crystals that I
that's
put there.
huge.
It was so big. Here's another one. Like
Wow.
I was so
And the
sad.
moss growing on top of it too.
Doesn't it seem like its own little world?
That
Like,
looks like a fairy like it looks like the entrance to a fairy realm essentially. Like if you walked into that space, that like
yeah,
dark space in the tree, it
right?
would
Like
bring you
the
to the
tree.
fairy realm.
Ah, it's
I
like
love it.
yeah, every time I would walk by that tree. like just to go on a walk in my neighborhood, I had to like stop at it. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna start leaving like crystals and herbs. And I like looked into what do you offer like fairy and tree spirits and stuff. So the crystals
Did
is
you
that.
ever find any like gifts? Like, did you ever see, was anything left outside for you? Like, when you went back after you left your offerings, was there anything that could have been perceived as like a gift for you?
Not that I can remember. I have to look back because that was like an interesting time. I'm gonna go back to that time of year because I was in 2022. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna look back into it, but that's a really good thing to reflect on.
What
Um,
I'm so excited. You're gonna have to, I want to keep up with this like series. Like, if you get the deck for the third time and what the
right.
experience
I'm bringing back the pictures. Maybe
feels
I'll,
like. Are you gonna bring the deck into your house? Are you gonna leave it outside and only do the like do your ritual with the deck outside to kind of keep that at bay? Like, I'm so curious. If you bring it inside, are you noticing more things are going missing, or like, well, I'm so excited.
yeah. Like I think maybe I'll even like print out that picture and like put it in the box, like make a whole little treasure box. And that's the thing too.
Yeah.
Like, we love doing the fairy garden. Like we have our own little like I have like an outdoor pot that like
Yep.
grows like the ground cover stuff on it, like for a fairy garden. So every year we'll like put like little things on it. So I think it was either that year or the year after I was like really into the fairy garden, and a friend sent me a whole box of like fairy garden little decorations
Oh,
and crystals and stuff. So I have to look back too because it could have been that whole year, and that could have been the gift.
could have been, yeah.
She just randomly, she was like, oh, I have all this fairy garden stuff, can I just send it to you? Like she didn't make me pay for it or anything, so I was like, yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was either that year or the year after that, with, yeah, 2023. So it's worth looking into. But that's like my connection with, as extensive as it gets to fairies. I've never been one of those who are like, ooh, fairies. um you know
Me either. I mean, like, I loved the idea. My entire life, I really loved the idea, but I never was like I know there are people that I've come across who are like, I'm a real fairy,
yeah,
which, I
like there's a
I
whole
like,
scene
it's a whole
like fairy
thing,
people.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
faithful.
live your life, go do your thing. Like, if that's what's making you happy, like, go ham. Um, but back to, the elements, I feel like it would be, I want to cover the elemental nature
Yeah,
spirits very quickly and then get right into the nymphs.
okay, yeah.
So the elemental, it's very quick. We have gnomes. Gnomes are associated with the protection of earth. Undines are associated with the protection of water. Sylphs are associated with the protection of air, and salamanders are the protection of fire, which I thought was very, very interesting.
Mhm.
Um, but then we go right into the nymphs. So nymphs are interesting. So nymphs are supernatural beings, often depicted as beautiful women, of course, because why not? Believed to possess magical powers, and they can communicate with humans. Like, nymphs are the ones that are more relationship with in springs. You have the Orids, which are nymphs of the mountains and rocky areas.
Hold on,
The
I'm sorry.
Dryad. No, go
You
ahead.
you froze. So as soon as you said nymphs are, so can you say again like what nymphs are so we can
Oh,
have it for the recording? Like when you
sorry
got
about
right
that.
into it, yeah.
No, nymphs are supernatural beings often depicted as beautiful women, which it froze, so you didn't hear me, but I was like, of course they would be associated with beautiful women.
Right.
They're probably, any gender, genderless. But they're believed to possess magical powers and they can communicate with humans. So they are more likely to be the ones that like humans would have relationships with or
Mhm.
like, have any kind of communication with. So
Mhm.
there are four different types of nymphs. We have the naiads, which are nymphs of fresh water. This includes rivers, lakes, and springs. We have
Mm.
the Oreads, which are the nymphs of the mountains and the rocky areas. The Dryads, which are the nymphs of trees, specifically like oak trees. And the Nereids, which are the nymphs of the sea, which could be like mermaid folk
Mhm.
as well.
Like the sirens, yeah, mermaid.
Right. I don't know. Don't hold that on me. We're just kind of throwing out ideas in
Yeah,
relation
I was kind
to.
of curious about it, or like before we went live, I was like talking about that. So I see that could be where that would fit in. Okay. I
But I'm
will.
sure. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm sure we'll do an episode on mermaids.
Yeah, that would be fun. What I was gonna say is that just backing up to the elementals, I just had a like nice connection there when you mentioned salamander and fire, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And just like a knowing, I was like, yeah, I can see that. Um, and then I thought about tarot, and like you have those random like salamanders. I think there's one with the King of Wands,
Oh
and
yeah.
maybe like in the Rider Waite Smith, like the traditional one, you have random salamanders like with the wand suit. So that
You're
makes,
right.
yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, because it made sense. I was like fire. And I feel like maybe I saw that connection like when studying something about tarot, and then the image came through and I was like, okay, wow, look at
I
the,
think the King of Wands has the cloak with the
yeah.
salamanders on it. I think that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like one where there's like a salamander on like like somewhere in the base or something like that. I can't remember, but they're in the wands, like some of the wands cards. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like look at that synchronicity.
That's a great synchronicity. I didn't even think about that because it is curious. Like when we do see it, like I never associated it, but now it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I wanna. Are you good with that? Are you
Yeah, I think,
okay?
yeah.
Because I was gonna go back and just give a little bit more information around the nymphs. So nymphs were worshipped in ancient Greece as powerful and benevolent spirits that could bring protection, prosperity, and fertility to the land and the people around it. But they also had the power to curse those who disrespected their domains, aka disrespected the land, which I can imagine a lot of nymphs are pissed off right now for a variety of reasons. We have not been kind to our earth. So, dryads, which I said were the nymphs of the trees and the oaks, they're interesting. So they're said to be born with their tree and they live as long as their tree does. They're considered to be more shy, but
Mm-hmm.
they are committed to protecting the trees. So they're not gonna like fight, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it, but they're gonna try. They're gonna do their best to communicate and try to keep the tree. I mean, because it is essentially their lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're also depicted as beautiful women, of course. I, you
Yeah,
know,
we
I
don't know of like when they're like, oh, they're nymph, which actually sometimes they're like they're sex maniacs, like a nymphomaniac, which is just like maybe that's the people that want to hook up with them and not the actual.
I mean, easily could
Yeah,
be, honestly. People are weird. People are, you know
yeah.
what? No judgment. But there are many ways you can connect with these nature spirits, like meditations and visualizations, specifically time in nature. Practicing plant medicine is one way to connect you to these spirits. Creating a plant altar. I would say like a outdoor fairy garden is definitely a way to create like that altar. Um, just studying plant folklore and mythology and kind of diving deep into it is a way to connect. But yeah, I'm very fascinated, and I think that this season I'm definitely going to be doing my best to connect deeper with all of the beings of nature, or at least the ones that are interested.
I'm really excited having this conversation. I feel like I just had a breath of inspiration and curiosity, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna dive into it. I don't know why I'm a little hesitant with the fairies, but I feel like I'm definitely gonna keep that energy outside. I'll build them a little area. I mean, there's already kind of like a little area, but I want to like extend that. And so I think that'll be fun. And I like your idea about the box and having that out there too. So
Especially if you put it like in the middle of the yard. and just
Yeah.
kind of like see what happens.
Yeah, and I can like build the fairy garden around it as well. Like
Yeah.
so fun. And I know Sidori will love that too. So that'll
Oh,
be
for sure. So
um
it's May 1st. I mean, Beltane is May 1st. So, like, it would be a good, I think that would be a good time to really start honing in on, like, traditional ritual type thing for yourself, creating something fun to celebrate the beginning of the summer.
yeah. So, yeah, we can get into the dream aspect of this now and how it will show up in dreams. And I mean, essentially, it's like these nature elements and spirits showing up in the dream that we've shared, but they can also come up too, is like I feel just from personal experience, especially having a lot of like animals, or not a lot of animals, but specifically like there was a dream that I was going to share a few episodes ago. I think it was like our dark moon dream reflections, and I was like in an enchanted forest, and it was like there was nothing, I mean there were interesting things going on with like the wolves and the I think it was panthers, and then or maybe just lions, but like basically the felines, but it was like the essence of like the forest, where it was like when I think about it, it's like I can see like the little twinkle lights, like almost like firefly lights, like in like the
Yes.
dark parts of the forest, like, and that's like I don't know if I actually saw that, but it's like that's the feeling, like
Right.
enchantment around me, and I felt like it felt very mystical, and it was like I was in another realm, even though I was in like
Yes.
like a forest on earth. So I would say that could be a way that the nature spirits speak to you. Like when I think about those twinkle lights, I mean, we associate them with fairies. They could
Yeah.
be like sprites. Sprites are so I feel like maybe sprites, I mean, I could be wrong, but the energy or like how we perceive and fairies, like how we're like, oh, they're like, this type of energy, maybe the sprites are kind of like similar to that energy in a sense of like the fun, not to say fairies aren't fun, but like not as like intense.
Yeah.
um, so I could see that energy, and that's kind of what I felt like. I felt like that was a way that the elements of nature were showing up, especially because there were animals in it, and the animals were communicating with me, telepathically in their own way and guiding me. So it felt really like the spirit of nature in that dream. So that's one of the ways that it could show up, like that animation
Absolutely.
of the trees and the plants and the animals like in the dream, and them making like direct
Right.
contact with you, like where
Right.
it's an energetic like experience or transfer.
Right. And honing in deeper on the elementals that come through in the dream too, if you have dreams where there's a lot of fire present, kind of like really invest your time into paying attention to what's around it, what's coming through, what's being communicated. Same with like the earth and these aspects, like definitely nature spirits are going to come through, probably representing the nature that they protect. Something I wanted to mention too that I completely forgot but is relevant. So I know when we were talking about aliens, I had mentioned that I had seen Men in Black, and from that point on, my brain kind of just was like, yeah, this is how reality is with aliens. Well, there was another thing that I wasn't shown through media, but I just like when I was a little kid, I just kind of connected insects to the fae and nature spirits. So, like, for me, as an adult, that still is kind of connected. Like, I really feel like insects could be nature spirits in one way or the next. But, the fae could come through in dreams where, you're being offered gifts. And oftentimes you don't want to take them because it is like trickster energy um in that type of realm, like the type of like fey realm or where, you know, they say that there is the fairy realm and then the human realm. Like if you're dreaming of a realm that feels like it could be in connection to the fairy realm, that's a way they could be connecting with you, which would be really interesting because if they're really kind of like, I don't want to say anti-human, but they're not really trying to be friends and connect in that way. So I would find that very interesting and very intriguing. Um, which, you know, it is what it is. I think, you know, it's so interesting, Urania, because when I think about your dreams and how like nature has shown up, I think about that one dream you had where your house was like open to like you had, I don't know if it was the door open or there was just a lack of wall or whatever it was, but you kind of had nature pouring in,
Oh, yeah,
and there was a
yeah.
plant that had, yeah, and there
Yeah, like
that
it was
like
coming
kind of
through
like
like the
cat
bedroom
being,
window. Yeah, I remember
yes, and
that.
I feel like that felt very nature spirit
Yeah.
esque. Do
Yeah.
you have a
No,
specific? I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just
Um,
gonna say, do you have a specific dream that you want to share that you feel like is connected to nature spirits? Because I do have one, and it's funny because I had this dream in January, so it wasn't even during a period of time where, yeah, it wasn't even in a period of time where like I would anticipate that type of energy coming through. But
yeah, you should go ahead. You go and share first.
oh, sure. So I believe I told this, I believe I've shared this dream before, but I do think that it feels very relevant to the topic and it feels very much like nature spirit energy and kind of that like Fey realm. So I had this dream January 13th. Um, Last night I dreamt I walked through this open door. It was in a dark room in what felt like a dusty attic, though it was a surround though the room itself was like a surrounding void. So I couldn't see much in the room. The door the door was open to a bright fantastical land filled with like very bright vibrant grass and flowers and other beings um around the world, like around this specific world.
Mm-hmm.
The sky felt like a large white void, kind of like LED lighting, but like more supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
It was chilly when we walked through and smelled really, really strong like grass, but sweeter than grass. I
Mm-hmm.
walked through the door with an understanding that I was entering dangerous territory. I entered with my sister and I had a sword, arms up with the sword in a, like a protecting position essentially while I was walking through. I turned and looked back at the door, which was a portal standing on its own with the previous room visible. I turned back to the path forward and kept moving. Um, it was bright with bright lights and pastels, and there were invisible creatures moving around us, like a crowded market. Like you can feel they're there, but you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna end it there because it kind of goes into like a. I don't need to say the rest of it, but I just felt like that setting alone, like
Yeah.
walking into this space that was very vibrant, very fresh, very like mystical, supernatural, and then all of these beings around that were not visible, but you could just feel their energy. It was such, I felt like if there was kind of like a separate realm for like the Fae, for these other nature spirits, this is kind of like what it would be like.
Yeah, I definitely feel it's like maybe you had a sense of like what came through is like the guardians of like that realm, that land, or wherever you were as far as in nature. Like it definitely felt like that energy. Like, and it's like, obviously then you want to tap into like the way you felt and like the way other things in that scene spoke to you or felt to you, that would give you a deeper understanding of like, what they were communicating. But it definitely feels like almost like they're letting you know that they're present and they're here. And then you mentioned like a portal. And so it's almost like an invitation to like go more in depth of what this could mean for you, or just like, like being able to go on that journey.
Right. And what made me think of like the Fae specifically is like when I walked through the portal to this realm, it didn't feel welcoming. It felt
Mm,
dangerous. It felt like I wasn't wanted there, which
mm,
very much encapsulates that energy of what the Fae give off. Like
that right now.
you're not welcome into the realm of the Fae. Like they don't want you in there. They don't even want you really communicating with them and bringing them in. They're not like super friendly. So it just kind of felt like okay, in this space I was on guard. I was feeling them around me, but I wasn't like comfortable. I wasn't welcome.
You know what's coming through with this too? I kept like, now it's coming back again, but when you were talking about like, in when you mentioned the Fae, also I kind of felt like in this instance of the dream, and just like what's coming on now is that like I feel that we're being invited, or maybe you are, definitely I feel like I am, like, to get to know them a little bit more, because like what like I'm curious of obviously there are reasons why this is like the energy, the story around them, but it's like there's got to be another side of the story, and I feel like that's what I'm now, I'm like, okay, I feel the inspiration, and I feel like why I'm being connected, because I'm like, okay, are you like, what's going on here? Why are you being mischievous? Or like, what, what I don't know. I'm curious. And I think like there's another story to be like told too.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. And
so
I
I'm
feel
curious about it.
I feel like you could implement dream incubation like a
We'll see what happens.
to
Well, yeah. And
through
like,
dream incubation. I think it would be a really nice experience.
yeah, I'm like, I think, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Oof. I like, for a second, I was like, oh, I could like sleep with one of the cards. And that's when I was like, oof, no, I don't want to do all that. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what shows up. I'm definitely in the window of my cycle that is like more into the having the dreams that are a little bit more mystical and fun. So like we'll see what comes through. But I'm like, there's something here.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so it's, yeah, going into that forest, and being in this other realm that's like, something's going on here. Like I feel like I'm not super welcomed, and I don't know, maybe they have their perceptions of humans, and I mean, they can see us
Humans are
and we
not
can
known
see
for
them.
being the greatest.
We're not really like good to be friends with. So
We also are literally actively destroying the earth and have been for a while now.
yeah, they're like, don't come into our realm. Like stay there. Stay
Yeah,
where.
like what are you going to bring? What disaster are you going to bring here? Like you've already disrespected what we're protecting here on the earthly realm. Like don't come to the fairy realm. Like don't come to this other realm. We don't know what you're gonna do, what you're capable of, and it's valid. It's a valid thing. Like I'm ashamed of the way that we've kind of fallen down this path of not caring. And
Mm,
I'm not saying we, like all of us, but people in control, people in power, people who have the money, the people who are actively killing the earth. They're the ones who don't give a shit about anything, and it's there's only so much we can do.
yeah. So by them communicating with us, like who do care, or just individual humans,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get that. They're gonna like learn from us and get our side of the story, and then we can help each other.
Yeah,
So help and guide us. So we'll see what comes up.
maybe we all need to try to take some time to communicate with nature spirits,
Absolutely.
do our
Especially
part.
now. Yeah, especially now for sure. Um, so one of the
uh,
so I came across a couple dreams, and oh, were you saying something? You froze. You're back.
okay, I'm like, I don't know why I keep freezing, but I do know actually we're about to get a pretty intense storm, and I
Yeah,
can hear the wind outside going
we had it
insane.
last night. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was intense, but it was
So I
fun.
apologize.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. Were you saying something?
Nope.
What I wanted to just share, I'm going to share like a small example of my dream, but I did look on Reddit, and there were some fun dreams that I came across, but I really liked how people were speaking of gnomes showing up in dreams, and how like they're very wise and protective, but also very like childlike, and curious and playful in that way. But what I really also liked is that they spoke about how gnomes generally are like a group, like a unity type of nature spirit, basically. And so that could also, like, if they, like I saw in there as far as someone's dream that they were having, like it was a recurring dream with gnomes, and someone was sharing like, oh, it could speak to like fragmented aspects of yourself, like wanting to come in union and work together. And so the gnomes could be showing you like maybe a playful way, like playful guidance on how to do so.
I
um
love that.
I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute.
I've never had a dream with a gnome in it.
I haven't either. So I was just like, wow, that's really interesting. And that was a really, like, I just thought that was a really interesting perspective too on that.
I agree 100%. I mean, even just the aspect of having salamanders in your dreams. Like I
Yeah.
was just thinking about that, like having a salamander in your dream and what it could be bringing forth in regards to nature spirits and connection to yourself and the earth and
Mhm.
fire.
Yeah, like that. And I think that's a good thing to point out too. It's like when it comes to the elementals, um, like really like thinking about what, like where in your life, like what needs, maybe you need some fire, or maybe you need, like, you have too much fire, like just observing the way that element is like presenting itself in your waking life, and that can give you, a deeper layer of what that dream might mean, right? Because also with the gnomes, they're like the spirits of like earth, right? They're earth
Right.
spirit.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so it's like that stability, that grounded energy, could also add in that factor, because it's like maybe parts of yourself are like fragmented, or you're not feeling whole because you're feeling like ungrounded, or like you're not feeling secure or connected to,
Right.
like earth, or whatever it could be. So maybe you need some more stability to like really bring parts of yourself back into wholeness. So I really like that perspective. I was like, wow, that's really, I like that.
It makes me think too of like another way that these nature spirits could come through is like a humanized or like a figure made of the element. So not the element itself, but the a figure kind of like what would look like embers or fire,
Yeah.
but in the human form, or like water in the human form, or like maybe like somebody like the human form but made out of bark, or like clouds or something like that. I feel like kind of merging the two, like making it apparent that it's a being in a way that's comfortable for humans,
Mhm.
but still connected to that element that they would show up in.
Yeah, that goes in alignment with what you were saying, as far as like we have our preconceived um ways of like how it should show up, but it might present itself different to us. So like being open to how it can like manifest for you. So if you do want to connect more with a specific element, like opening yourself up to that without like saying, oh, it has to be a gnome or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, you can, set that intention to connect with the gnome in your dreams, but um also just being open to what that element can represent for you as well, or that energy of what you're like wanting to connect with. So that's like an invitation for me. If I'm thinking about
Absolutely.
fairies, I'm like, okay, well, the energy of fairies, like what about that is like driving that curiosity, and yeah. So, and I have no idea. It just literally came in the moment. So I'm like, okay, we'll see how this goes. I feel like when I get the deck, then I'll definitely know. I feel, when I really think about it too, it's like I feel it's connecting me back to when I first got the deck, because like that was again that like sweet spot of my life where I was like, I'm just like fully into this. Like I'm merging into it. Like I have no kids. Like I'm quitting my job. I don't really have, like, obviously I have bills, but it's like, I'm just going to explore. And so I think it might connect me to that part of that time in my life. And so I get like, I'm getting curious about it. So,
Oh, I'm so excited. And I'm gonna embark on this journey with you in like my own little way.
oh,
I probably won't, go ham, but I do want to connect more with nature spirits and figure out what kind of works for me. And I'm excited, and I'm very excited for Beltane this year. I'm feeling the thinning veil. I'm feeling that birth energy, that renewal, that freshness, and like,
yes.
things feel really heavy, but I also feel like that sun is coming through and brightening up our days a little bit. Oh, we'll see.
I feel like that's like the full moon, the Libra full moon really is like being okay with coexisting in both experiences, like really embracing the duality and like even the extremes. Like you can be really, really happy in a really chaotic world, and it's okay. Like you're
Yeah.
not a bad person for like feeling good, because guess what? Like that moment is going to be fleeting anyway. So it's
It
like
is
enjoy
fleeting. Like
while
every
you
day.
can. Like, yes.
I'm a
So,
generally like I'm a pretty optimistic person. I can flow through life with, you know, the good kind of on my mind, and but I try not to feel bad because the amount of times that I feel low because of just everything going on, it is balanced. It is balanced. And if I have a good day, like it's not hurting anybody.
yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. So on that note, I think I feel pretty good with what was discussed. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on? I mean, we'll definitely have more chats about this, maybe some specifically, because I didn't even touch on Pan. So, maybe
Oh
we'll
yeah.
like Dark Moon Dream Reflections. Maybe we can talk a little bit more, because I have kind of I wouldn't say I have a connection with Pan, but there is, yeah, there's like, I have a connection through a book I was reading that I read like years ago. And then I actually started reading that book again last year, but I didn't finish it. So I'm like, damn, like,
That is so funny you bring that up because if any of you have seen Pan's Labyrinth, which, if if
I have that
it's
movie.
not for the week, I'll tell you that. It is not a movie for the week. Like I watched that when I was like 11 years old. My mom was like, "I got this movie for you and your friend." And like it was pretty intense. But there's a scene where there is this little girl goes into this room and there's a table full of food and there's a being sat at the table and the food is there and like the whole thing is you're not supposed to take any food, and that kind of reminds me of like not taking gifts from fae and the repercussions and consequences
Yeah.
that like that would come from that. Now again, completely different because that movie's a whole like
That's a whole nother thing.
it's a whole thing. That's a good movie.
We'll have to talk about that, an episode about that, because this is about mysticism and like weird things, anyways. It doesn't always
Yeah.
have to be dreams, so we can definitely talk about that.
Well, and I'm pretty sure that Pan's Labyrinth, there are dream scenes. Like I don't know
Yeah,
if like I think the
dream
whole
like, yeah,
aspect of it where you don't know if she's dreaming these things or not.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're dream like for sure. So, but yeah, I wanted to
Yeah,
touch on
it's a lot.
it.
Actually, I want to rewatch it now.
Yeah, I own it. I haven't watched it in a long time. I need to, like, I own a digital version of it. So I'm like, that could be also in celebration of the season. So there are like so many fun, like random little things that you can do to just welcome in that like renewal, spring energy, the spirit of spring, the spirit of nature. Um, Yeah, even with like being present with the rain, like the spring rains. It was
Oh
like
my
we got the
gosh,
storm in
yes.
yesterday. It rained all day yesterday, but like in the morning, like it was really warm. And so it was like really pouring down. So in the morning, I had the windows open. You could still hear the birds outside.
Uh,
So it was like that warm spring rain with like the birds. And I was just like,
I love it. I know I walked to the graveyard the other day and it was like, I checked the weather beforehand. It was like, oh, it's not going to rain till 7 p.m. and it was only like 5:20. I was like, all right, well, I'll go read my book up at the cemetery and just kind of exist. And I got up there and I kid you not, I sat down and started reading and there drops. Immediately drops came down and I was like, you liars. You said 7 p.m.
April was
But it
like,
was only it wasn't like it wasn't actually like a rainstorm. It was kind of just like drops here and there. And I
yeah,
got up to go home and when I went home, it stopped. And I was like, well, I guess it didn't want me at the cemetery today. I guess it didn't want me here today.
yeah. Maybe the elements of water was connecting with you. And it's like, hey, like, I think that's kind of appropriate, just knowing what's coming up, like the water,
Yeah. And I do
especially
have to say
moon
it
and
felt
people.
weird there.
Yeah,
Like it didn't feel normal. It felt weird there.
yeah.
Like there and I couldn't figure out what it was. But when I got there, it just felt off. So it could easily be like, hey, this isn't a good time.
Yeah, right.
Come back later.
Well, I feel like this is going to be an interesting season.
It
Um,
will be.
and so especially like I feel like we'll have a lot to share on in a couple weeks with our dark moon dream reflections. Next week we're going to have a dreamer on, our dear friend Wermond. We're going to discuss their connection with dreams, how they got into dream work, dream sharing, all of that. So I'm really excited. And then yeah, we'll be sharing about dreams in the following episodes. And this is going to be a really fun season. So I'm excited about it.
I am too. It really is going to be fun. I'm very excited. Um, I know that there's going to be some intense experiences, but I feel like the magic coming through will definitely help guide through it.
We need it for sure.
Yes.
But all right, so thanks everyone for watching, listening. Please like the video if you enjoy this and subscribe to our channel or follow us on Spotify or both. And we will be back next week with a very special guest. And until then, sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.